Half of the homes sell below it, half of the homes sell above it. So if you have a lowering of the median sales price, first people think it's depreciation. Well, it's not. What happened is that people aren't buying homes over 450,000 right now. They're buying homes under 450,000 because interest rates are higher, things like that. So there's just more houses under 450, but the actual appreciation, hard number appreciation, was over 2% last month. People don't realize that. I did all the calculations. So it's not a bad time to buy a home as far as dollars and things like that. And so with that, we have brought on a superstar expert. He's with Texas Ally Real Estate. It's Javier Alejandro. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Yeah, and as we spoke earlier, love the name. Alejandro. It's just
It's a movie star name.
Yes, yes. It reminds me of the original Zorro movie. I can't remember what the.
Antonio Banderas.
Yes, the way they said
It's a solid
Alejandro.
name.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Yes, but so you're out there every day right now, as far as out, we call it, in the trenches,
Yeah.
with the real estate industry. And what are you seeing out there as far as for buyers that they need to be thinking about as far as look when they're ready to buy a home?
One of the things I always tell anybody who approaches me is that they really need to get their financing in place before we start looking at physical houses. Um, so many, because of what's happened over the last year, 2 years, and not just in the Austin market, but across Texas, is that a lot of sellers were requiring that people showed pre-approval letters, or some kind of proof of funds saying that they were ready to get into a contract and buy a piece of property.
Is that common? People not being pre-approved when they start the process.
It used to be.
So they're getting a
Used
little bit
to
more
be.
educated on that.
Correct, yeah. And that's one of the things they'll always tell people before we go shopping
Okay.
is let's go get you your loan first, see what you kind of qualify for.
Right.
That way we're not looking at houses that you're not going to be able to afford.
That's not only important as far as for purchasing a house they can afford, but also it's important, I think, for understanding what they're getting themselves completely into. Because I have noticed, we've got Chad Christensen, superstar from Security National Mortgage here, who is literally in the front lines as far as the loan originations. Good morning, Chad. Yeah, what I have noticed is that most people come for a pre-qual. Hey, my realtor said I needed to get pre-qualified. Most loan officers out there, credit application, maybe look at some docs and say, okay, you can buy a $350,000 house and send them out there, right? So you as a realtor now go, oh, I could buy a $350,000 house. So you go show them a house, you get them qualified, or for the house, you get them into a contract, and then they send the stuff off to the loan officer, and then he does up a lender's estimate sheet, which is required by law, and he sends it to the borrower, and the borrower's like, my payments are $2,800, and you want $55,000 from me? And then they freak out. And then they don't want to buy the house because the loan officer didn't do their job, And so I think going over the numbers, explaining that stuff is just as important as getting them pre-qualified. Because I've had people, I'm like, hey, you could buy up to 400,000, and here's this, and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to spend that much. I'm like, well, you qualify for that, but I don't want to. So what do you want to spend? So we, hey, I want to spend $2,500 a month. Okay, we're about 310. Things like that, and going that extra mile in the pre-qualification process makes your job as a realtor so much easier, because when you're out there hitting, homes and stuff like that, they know what it's going to cost them. Not that they can qualify for it, but what it's going to cost them. So when you show them a $350,000 house, they're prepared to make a bid on a $350,000 house.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So Javier, right now, what are some of the questions you're having to answer quite a bit from buyers? Obviously it used to be, are the house prices going to drop? Or what's some of the things, the problems and the questions they're having right now?
Well, this is actually a perfect segment to bring Chad into this, because I get a lot of questions about interest rate.
Yeah. It's not pricing anymore.
Not as much.
They're
Right.
finally getting educated the fact that the bottom's not going to drop out. These prices are going to kind of be normal now. So that's not an ongoing problem anymore, is what you're saying.
I'm not going to say that it's going to be an ongoing problem. People are always going to
Of course,
have,
of course.
their concerns about the affordability of the prices of the house.
Sure.
But the first question out of there gets thrown at me is, what do you think the interest rates are going to do?
Right.
Yeah, that's always the $1,000,000 question,
Yeah.
and that's not one that's really easy to answer.
It's
well,
Well, no, just because last week the rates went up, gosh, what, 3/4 of, well, at least 0.5% for no reason.
Yeah.
Because people reported a news in Russia and it scared everybody over the weekend and rates went up on Tuesday.
Yeah, like overnight.
For no reason. There's no financial reason for the rates to have climbed.
So it was emotional.
Yes, so we do feel those we call those knee-jerk rate raises, and we do feel they'll come back, but it's still, they go up. It still takes a couple weeks to bring them back down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the market's softening a little bit the last couple of days, but yeah.
Well, Javier, with that being said, that the interest rates are kind of volatile, but they're still kind of staying around the sixes, high fives. Is it a good time to buy a house?
I think it is.
You do?
I think it is. I think there's enough movement in Central Texas to where even if you're buying a house for investment or to live in, this has always traditionally been a good market.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
one thing is lenders are getting more creative with options. I mean, people that are putting their homes out that, like they were doing in 20 and 21,
Right.
that, needed work, and the person was moving here from California or wherever and had a bunch of money and they didn't care. So, first time buyers are becoming, more capable of buying homes.
Sure.
Sellers are getting a little bit more motivated, and we're all making adjustments on our end to, try to capture as much business as we can to get back to normal.
Well, we're living in Austin and buying a house now. Next year, that house is going to be more expensive. So
Yes.
if you wait, one thing you can guarantee is that it will be more expensive in a year.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've been telling my customers.
In the competition, so I have been trying to say this for as long as I can say this. If you don't have a lot of money and you don't have extra $100,000 that you don't need for like retirement or whatever, if you don't have that, you need to get the house now. Yes, it does cost you more per month, but that initial upfront cost is not going to be as much because you're not having to compete against as many buyers as you were having to compete against a year ago. But that is going to change. Once the rates fall into the fives, all the people sitting on the sidelines are going to jump off into the game. And we're at, if you do a statistical, it shows 2.7 months of inventory on the MLS. If you take out active listings, which are which ones are under contract, there's less than 1.8 months. We have less than 2 months of inventory. You take out to be built, you take out homes that are under contract. There's a little over a month of inventory, and it's going to take nothing. I mean, nothing for that to go away. And because right now we're already under multiple offers, and it's the winter.
Well, and again, these are January's numbers. So February, we're getting close to the end of February, and it's changed since January.
Dramatically.
So we'll wait till February numbers came out, and they're going to be worse or not worse, but
More aggressive.
they'll be more aggressive.
Yes,
is the word I wanted to use.
And so that's the thing. If you're listening to this and you don't have an extra $100,000 and you want to start the ability to accumulate wealth, you need to go get qualified, find a real estate agent, and buy a home.
So how do they get a hold of you, Javier?
They can always call me on my direct line at 512-947-2315.
And you work all over Austin, the greater Austin area, is that correct?
You cover a bunch of ground.
I do cover a lot of ground. I've got MLS access in San Antonio as well.
Okay.
So that entire I-35 corridor.
So you're investor friendly as well.
And
Yeah.
I am investor friendly.
Every time I call him, he's on the road.
All right, that's awesome. So if you're an investor, you're looking to buy a home, one more time, what's your phone number?
512-947-2315.
That's Javier.
Javier Alejandro from Texas Ally Real Estate. Thank you so much for that information. Hey, and if you want to talk to Chad Christensen about interest rates and loans and things like that, we're going to come back to the next segment. We are going to talk about how the government has just helped you become more affordable in buying a home. Hey, you've been listening to the Home Team with Troy and Wyatt. We hope you've enjoyed what you've heard. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at loansfromtroy.com, or you can give me a call at 855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment was brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing your American dream. See you in just a minute.